Hi guys, I'm just going to run through your Parker system again in a bit more detail this time. As you can see, I've got my engines up and running. They're at tick over RPM 600. In order for me to increase that, you can't naturally do that just purely by raising the stick. So basically what you have to do, as you can see there, look, if I do that, nothing happens there. If I can try and get that both into perspective, you get nothing. You won't get any revolutions because the engines are waiting for a command from the Parker system. Okay, now if you remember, if I said before, if you leave that up there and you try and clutch in, they won't clutch in. Now I'm now going to try and prove that to you purely by pushing those two buttons there. Shouldn't clutch in. There you go. Gives you a warning message. Reduce port engine speed, demand, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Before attempting to engage your drive. Okay, so I'm going to push the buttons to disengage. Then I will bring that back down to 0. That obviously brings your screen back up again. Now with it at 0 on your throttles, now all of a sudden they clutch in. Watch the gauges, up they go at the bottom, and as I said before, you can see the wash from the back of the boat. Okay, so I'm now going to disengage those again purely by pushing the black buttons, and after about 7 seconds you'll see the bottom one's disengaged. There you go. And also it will also tell you there whether you're in gear or not. Okay, to back flush these engines, back flush your jets as well, if you get a foul in your prop, you just hit the back flush button. Okay, both sides, it will disengage those. It then clutches in again, but then you can see your gear is astern. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go astern. All that means is if you look at your wash out the back of the engines, out the back of the jets there's nothing. All you're basically doing there is taking the power from the engine and running the impeller backwards. That's all you're doing. You will get a little bit of revs out of it, but you won't get much because it's not supposed to be running backwards. Okay, that's obviously with that. You won't get hundreds of revs out of it. Trust me, you won't. Okay, obviously disengage those again. Wait 7 or 8 seconds. It then disengages, and you're back in neutral. Okay, the next thing I wanted to tell you was basically, in order to be able to get your, especially for the Vondelar, if you want to bring the revs up for your crane, you have to do this procedure. Like I said to you in the other video, but I'm going to go through it a little bit more in depth and show you actually what happens. Okay, you have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold coming. In order to be able to do that, to bring your revs up on your throttle sticks, you need to go to the engine management part of it, and like I said before, push the two blue squares, then that will flash. Okay, now if I go back to the joystick or the sort of the crosshairs, you'll see I'm still synchronized on both of these engines. That's what you really need to be doing. If you want to start your crane up, you need power from the power takeoff unit. You need more pressure on your hydraulic system, so you keep the synchronize on. Then I'll bring it into perspective. You bring your revs up, engines start to come up. See? Yeah. And like I said before, what you need to do with the Vondelar, you need about between 1,000 and 1,400 revs in order to be able to start your crane, or get enough pressure in your hydraulic system to start your crane. Okay, while you're in this position, you won't be able to clutch in, and you certainly won't be able to back flush on either engine. Okay, so I'll just bring that back down to 0 again. To obviously bring that back in the morning, if for some reason when you fire the engines up and you don't have control of the engines, it will be because that is on. Okay, if you can't clutch in but you can get revs, that's on. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is something that was brought up by somebody's mistake that they didn't own up to. I shan't mention any names, but it's plainly obvious to somebody that knows what they're talking about how this happened. So I'll just double check to make sure that I've disengaged the revs. I then go back to my normal crosshair screen and then I clutch in. Okay, they come off like that. Once they're clutched in, you then get F3, you get that then come up. Yeah, if you're going 20 odd knots, yeah, don't be tempted to hit that button. If you hit it by mistake, fair dues, but you don't hit it if you're doing 20 knots. If you do, watch what happens. Disengages, revs go back down to 0. In fact, let me show you with revs on. I'll push the disengage buttons again, just to double make sure, okay? Because sometimes if you do that, it then won't let you engage into gear again. So there you go. I've pushed them in, clutched in again. She's clutched in now. Because I haven't got the revs on here, I can clutch in. That means I can now bring my revs up in gear. Okay, so that obviously you can see now, the more revs I give, the more wash I give out. So I'm going to hit that F3 button, and obviously you can see that I've got revs on. If I bring the revs up to 800 or 900, and I'm now going to hit that F3 button, okay, that one there, and I'll do a countdown and I'll be able to show you exactly what happens. 3, 2, 1, button. Revs drop down and she clutches out. Boom. There you go. Now, if you've hit that button, naturally you'll panic. You'll think, oh, I'm out of gear. What's happened now? I've lost all my throttle. You'll be doing this. Oh, engage in. But you can't. It's basically saying you need to reduce your engine revs again. So bring that back down again. Your crosshairs come back up again, and boom, you're straight back in again. It's all conditioning your mind into remembering in which order that you need to be able to deal with a situation once it's happened. I make it sound quite easy because I've been doing these boats for 6 years now, and I know the ins and outs of them. It's very easy to become flustered and lose your train of thought very quickly with a system if you have a problem. As long as you understand the reason why that problem has happened, you can then deal with it quite quickly. I just thought I'd give you this video to see whether or not it would help.